Doing great, thanks.
Trying to get clearance from Jay.
I'm good to go. Ready to go.
Yeah, Jay. Nice meeting you. Yes.
Thank you
So I
for
think
having
George, the topic is about investment opportunities in the metaverse, gaming, emerging NFTfying. See, all these new funding models are coming up. So I want you to share. I think you have got a lot of experience in this space. So what is the opportunities coming up, especially in the
Thank you.
investment part of it? What are the challenges, opportunities? Jay is into a
Yes.
startup of Ozone Metaverse. He's trying to raise fund, and George is already running a crypto startup. So you can throw some challenges and opportunities, George.
Well, first, it's a pleasure to be here. As you know, all the aspects associated with metaverse and gaming have been with us for quite some time. Although it has become a little bit more hot topic in the last, you can say, 6 months or less, both metaverse and gaming has been with us for a long time. I think the thing that has added a little bit is two elements. One is definitely the NFT part, because NFT allows you to monetize the content in gaming. And the second one that I think is happening as a big change or game changer is something known as gamify. So gamify is actually combining several different technologies. One is definitely gaming. The other one is NFTs. The other one is metaverse. And the fourth one is DeFi. So that really means it allows you to combine both finance, wallets directly into the gaming. So it implements what you can call play to earn in a real life scenario without any intermediaries. Now, of course, we have lots of startups in this area, and the ones that have the more mature solutions and the ones that have, the more interesting technologies in terms of combining metaverse, but not just metaverse. I sometimes call multiverse as important sometimes as metaverse, which means where you combine XR technology, XR meaning mixed reality, virtual reality, extended reality. So it can be a combination of all of the above. And there's many reasons why those elements of XR is important. Is because today we still have some challenges of, you can say, playing the metaverse games in mobile devices because of the power. Now, there's workarounds that, and one of the key workarounds of this is by using cloud gaming or other equivalent like gamified technology. But since we are in a transition period, I think hybrid solutions are the ones that are going to be most successful. The interest in this topic is so hot that I think between now and the end of March in Dubai, we'll probably have about 5, if not 6, conferences on this topic. So you can see that there is a very big interest, both from the companies that are startups, but also from investors which want to monetize as much as possible future growth associated with this industry. So we can say that we're still in the early steps, but definitely the options for monetizing are extremely high. Whether the monetization is directly done through tokens that invest in the gaming company, so they either have utility tokens or NFT tokens that monetize the content in the game, but also by direct investment into these organizations. The people that are moving more into the decentralized world of DeFi, then the elements that are important for the success include the chains that have high performance capability, So today, Ethereum is still having some challenges, both on the performance side as well as on the cost of the transaction fees. So that means this gives a very good opportunity for newcomers like Polkadot, Cardano, and many others to kind of take advantage of this situation. Jay.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Yes, thank you. I'll jump in and totally appreciate the opportunity to be on this panel. Thank you, Startup Bright, for setting this up. Totally agree with what George said, and would be actually interested to circle back with you. Maybe we'll make it out to Dubai for one of those conferences. We have a couple of strategic partners out there. We're going to be setting up our MENA operations out of Dubai in Q1 of this next year. So let's definitely circle back. Regarding Ozone Metaverse, couple of things. Number one is we've been successfully raising over the last few weeks with tremendous momentum. We launched a like a little bit of the token raise, and we've had like 10-to-1 subscription on what was made available. So that's very great news for us. We also have a big influx of like equity investment interest, but we're navigating that, pretty carefully as we want to make sure we partner up with the right added value equity partners. Now, that being said, I think George hit it on the nail. The industry is very early. We are kind of in the infancy stages of the metaverse, as it were. I always like to say we are back to the internet of 1997. There's definitely some kind of a bubble going on now where, over the last 6 weeks, everyone who last year was saying XR is now saying NFT, and now they just added Metaverse to their pitch. Our story at Ozone is slightly different, so let me share with everybody in just 1 minute that we've been working on a custom and proprietary tech stack to enable 3D internet for a few years now. So really our mission is not to be the metaverse, but we are the engine to enable metaverses and to keep it very simple for everyone to own, build, and monetize their own virtual world, really, which in our case is 100% web-based. So to George's point, as you mentioned, a lot of the access is hard. We worked very diligently and very hard for a couple of years now to enable high performance 3D graphics on the web. So that's really the infrastructure we have had over the last few weeks, a couple of months actually. We've been overlaying the blockchain infrastructures, and one of our big value proposition is to be blockchain agnostic. So we currently support utility and integration of Ethereum wallet, Solana wallet, as well as a Flow blockchain, which we have a list of a lot of interested blockchain partners who want us to integrate their solutions as well. So, in short, we want to offer the choice to the user, right? Our mission is to empower users to have simple and highly efficient access to high quality metaverses on the web. So this will include, of course, some individuals, like folks on this call can go to ozonemetaverse.io. We have a citizenship form. I'll put the link in the chat later. So you can just become a citizen of the metaverse. It's totally free. And then as we open the access to buy the parcels and the worlds and so on, you'll be able to do that as well within probably the next 6 to 8 weeks. We'll introduce that. Then also what's interesting to consider here on the opportunity spectrum is, individuals can really build new businesses literally on the metaverse, right? So if we consider the metaverse will become the new internet, right? And we are at the internet of 97, just think what the future holds, right? So the Amazon hasn't been created yet. None of these mobile apps have been created yet. So by taking the same thought process and just thinking like we're building the next generation internet, basically, right? And we really want to invite everybody to think and get creative about, how to leverage that opportunity, right? Back then, all digital medium, the internet overall was very new. People had no clue of the potential. Right now, there is tremendous history on what has happened on what we consider Internet 1.0, 2.0, some people say. We just consider them like a whole new dimension. So, yeah, we invite everybody to really think, evaluate. The creativity will be the real currency is one of the things we have in our white paper, right? So, yeah, with that being said, that little introduction about us, I would love to pass it on to Vlad, who just jumped in maybe. And
Vlad, I think you are into NFT space.
Yes. Hi, folks.
What
Thank
do
you
you like
again.
what do you like to show? I mean, you can give your viewpoint.
Yes, I was in the former stage, but we had some technical difficulties in Germany. But however, Metaverse is for us as crypto artists very, very interesting, because what we see now, actually, we have, for example, 480 NFTs on OpenSea. We have 180 on Binance NFT, we have 25 or 30 on Rarible and also on Space 7. So what we see now is that the NFT space, if you are looking for investors to expand it, to see it as a real world asset combined to the NFT, is a difficult space, because we have listened before, we have a lot of fakes and we have a lot of unreal, NFTs. So what we have solved at Zeitgeist 91, which means Spirit of the Time 91, is that all our NFTs are based and connected to real-world assets, so to real-world art. This is the first point. But the second point, unsolved yet, is that you cannot, or unsolved by the other markets, the platforms, OpenSea or Rarible, for example, is that you cannot connect these real artworks to the NFTs, because you can't change the smart contract. So in the moment you say you want to sell an NFT associated to a smart contract, real artwork asset, it won't work, because the buyer who would sell it to the second and third buyer would have to sell also the real world asset. So this is something we have now solved. We developed a solution for that. But why the metaverse is very interesting for us is the point, because we see the metaverse as an additional option for NFT creators and artists to present their artworks in virtual museums, So if, for example, we would be able to get a space in the metaverse, which has definitely to fulfill some, security reasons, cybersecurity. It has to be real. It has to be no fake, and so on and so on. All the compliance rules, definitely. Then it can be very, very interesting for us, because then we could make a metaverse exhibition, for example, showing all these artworks, and not only we, all artists could use it. And by this, the buyer could interact in the metaverse directly with us as creators. So I think this is a huge potential, but our experience with investors was until now that it is very, very hard to get to them. We have now some very interesting founding members who will come to us, but it has taken a long time for we've worked, I think Rajan knows it, around about 9 months on this, on fundraising, and
Yes,
it's not really sold yet. And in this space, it's a long time, 9 months. But I think Metaverse is a new opportunity, and yes. So this is our experience from the creator's side. And maybe to my own background, I also worked in a cybersecurity company based in London, which was a confidential company. And we had really a very big focus on cybersecurity. Because this is the second point, which will be extremely important. Many blockchains can be hacked, have massive errors in their code writing. You can check it by using reverse engineering. All these tools some cyber intelligence companies are using, we used in this cybersecurity company. So when I look to Metaverse, when I look to crypto art, to NFTs, I always have in mind what can happen worst case. But it's on the other side, it's the challenge that to solve these problems, and I think we could do it. Yeah, so that's from my part.
Yeah, the metaverse, the field is, there are a lot of, it's $1 trillion business, billions of funding is expected in the next year. And we have, people are setting up, buying plots worth, thousands of dollars, $10,000, $20,000. People are, even there are platforms coming up which only creates avatars, so we can use those avatars, we can buy that, we can use it in the metaverse world. So there are a lot of new models are coming up. So George, you can throw something on this, which are the emerging models we can.
Well,
if I may jump in, George, bear with me. There is Rajan, there is Steven in the lobby. Steven McCutter, I think, is in the lobby.
Steven Cutter, yeah. Steven Cutter. Steven, I was supposed to join, but I'm not able to pull him. He has used the wrong link, I think. So I wanted to come in as speaker.
Okay. So I think, as you mentioned, we're in the early days of adoption, but we already have some examples of adoption that are quite interesting. Not necessarily monetizable at this stage, but definitely showing that even governments have interest. So one of them was obviously Liberland, which is a small country not yet overly recognized, but established on the principles of DAO and principles of blockchain. They open their embassy on the metaverse. Okay, if we look at more traditional countries, we have now Barbados also opened their first embassy in the metaverse. So what this really means, it's still experimental, it's still early days, but we somehow have more traditional governments or traditional business that are looking at the metaverse as a business opportunity. Now, if we have an organization like Facebook renaming its name to Meta, that should give you clues about where their next revenues opportunities are. But this monetization, I believe, is going to come not just from what we call the world metaverse. I prefer to actually use the word multiverse, because at the end of the day, there's not going to be one single metaverse. There's going to be a multitude of metaverses, the same way we have a multitude of blockchains and we have a multitude of NFTs. And the integration between these are going to be key to actually create a unified environment. That's one of the things that web did. Everybody had sign of their different world, and the web allowed you to pull the information from various servers and make it appear in a unified way. Now, 3D is nothing new. VRML has been with us on the internet for quite a long time. So some of the building blocks are there. It's just that the building blocks are getting enhanced with metadata. They're being enhanced with blockchain power. They're being enhanced with DeFi, which means the capability of attaching a wallet and directly monetizing the environment in which you live. So that means you'll be able to live or create the malls of tomorrow. If we look at something like OpenSea, although OpenSea has been very successful at launching NFTs, it's a pretty boring platform. I'm sorry. I mean, OpenSea is what Amazon was doing 10 years ago. I mean, so something is missing. You understand? So the fact that there is a lot of these integrated virtual worlds missing, this creates the next massive opportunity to create an environment that matches the content that is actually being posted in that environment. Now, apart from the technology, I think Vlad addressed a very important aspect, was regulatory governance, digital rights, and a multitude of other things that we would not be able to cover on this panel. Do you have the rights to what you're trying to sell? This needs to be addressed correctly, because if you're trying to monetize an NFT, that NFT could be a picture, that NFT could be a video image, could be a book, could be audio, or any mixture of the above. So where did you get the rights to be able to sell that? And is that right only on the virtual or the physical one that is attached to the virtual, or both at the same time? Even more important than that, today's blockchains are not necessarily addressing NFTs correctly, because on one side, we're creating the NFT on the blockchain, but the content of the NFT is not in the same blockchain. So it does not guarantee that you actually have access to that NFT in the first place. You have just a pointer to where that NFT is supposed to be. So we need to do a lot more architecture work. And I think the work that Jay mentioned, we need to have the right building blocks and the right technology to be able to do this successfully, not just put a nice image in front of it and say, okay, we're done. No, there's a lot of elements that are still missing that need to be put together. And I think the final element that will decide on the success or failure of this technology is going to come from the non-educated user, the guys we always forget. It's the little mom and pop, or the small little kid that is using this for the first time. If he can do it with that Apple kind of feeling, meaning that you touch it and it looks easy, like an iPad model situation, it's intuitive, it's responsive, it's friendly, then I think we will have a success in our ends. But if we look at this from an investment perspective, I think for every 100 startups, we'll probably have a success of something like 2 or 3, not 1 to 10. I think we will go through a much higher ratio of failures, which is good, which means that the angel investors and early seed investors, and we have some examples of that. If you look at the Middle East, we've been quite lucky. I mean, I'm a good friend of colleagues like, for example, Saeed Damaki from Shisha Finance, which is a decentralized fund. They are ready to invest in these startups. They look at the technology, but they take a position. So they say, okay, I'm ready to invest in your nice little virtual world, but we want 10 or 15% of equity in that startup. Meaning, if you succeed, we succeed together, so that later on they can do an exit for the investors that actually put that money. So they're willing to burn the money, but they want proper return for the money they're willing to burn in that process.
Hi, Stefan. Welcome. Sorry, I think we couldn't able to connect you. So now we are welcome. So is Stefan from Wuji Games founder. So you talk about your viewpoint on the Metaverse Gaming, how we are trying to raise fund for the projects you have.
Yeah, nice to see you again, George. I was with George in Dubai a couple months back. So I'm more focused on how we use the Metaverse Gaming for good, to make an impact on the world. So more augmented reality. So what we've done is we created a Metaverse that teaches permaculture and agricultural skills called Earth Defenders, right? So players will get real world skills on how to grow their food, plants, but all the contributions from the NFT sales in our game portions will go directly towards real world actions like planting trees. And then we have a tracking dashboard so you can see your trees getting planted, where they get planted, who planted them. And then the trees will even grow in value because trees are valuable and we need them. Carbon credits is one thing, but we're also working with like oxygen credits and biodiversity credits. So our goal is to gamify positive world actions and then reward people for doing good in the world. And I recognize gaming as one of those onboarding tools for blockchain over 3 years ago, probably 4 years ago, when I hosted a hackathon now in Chicago, Chicago Blockchain Project on gamification and the SDGs. And the metaverse has came along since then, and NFTs since then. So we're ready to launch here. We're doing a grant with Rarible this January, and we're going to be launching our first NFT sales for the islands in the game, and then continue to do different types of selling of goods in the game to go towards real world action. So like I said, our goal is to make positive things happen through passive actions.
Great, Stephen. I think you are in the net zero environment, so I think you could attract a lot of funds too in the future, provided your models are innovative, I think. Yes. Jay, I think you are in the Metaverse avatar. Good.
Yeah,
in the future,
yeah.
Everyone in the avatar in the events too.
Yeah, well, I got to represent, right? So I really want to appreciate what Steven is doing. This is something, so we're getting a lot of folks who want us to build their game using the Ozone engine. And we're building like a game infrastructure, which is already pretty well advanced for like basic games. Of course, as you guys know, game requires custom scripting and programming based on what the logic is. In this case, for Steven, it would be like planting trees and so on. But what I like about Steven, what you said is, and this is something I've been telling everyone, right? There is plenty of revenue opportunity with these NFT sales. A portion should, in my mind, always be affected to a good cause, you know? And this could become really good engines for redistributing wealth, whether it's charity, whether it's for health, mental health, whatever the cause could be. And would love to circle back with you, because depending what the game engines are built on, and this is something I'm telling to a lot of the NFT projects, and maybe I get a chance to show you guys something here. But this utility, to what Mr. George was talking about earlier, right? I think the NFT itself, like what we saw happen this year, is just the first layer where we create the NFTs, right? I look at it like the birth of NFTs. But now there needs to be a life cycle that is defined. And this comes to me as my understanding so far is like utility, right? Like essentially when you sell an NFT, you get a community, right, of people who own that. So now you also have a treasury, and that's where these DAO concepts come in, right? So now you guys get governance, organization of this community, and ultimately you want to provide utility for these folks, right? So you have a community, so what, right? Everybody is a Bored Ape, for example. Then what happens then, right? And so we are starting to see these roadmaps, and a lot of them have a metaverse somewhere, right, in the roadmap, right? And I think that's one of the most important things the metaverse will do, is provide this utility for different communities. So if we look at Steven's tree, regenerative project, you could have a metaverse that just provides exposure and goodwill and drives, community building there. We're talking to artists, right? So for artists, same thing. The metaverse will be a way to engage their users. George and Vlad were mentioning about the government use case, right? We are working currently on I'm happy to announce it here for you guys, but we have a project underway called the Meta City, right? It's a special use case for our engine, which basically is designed to render super big spaces, like full cities, basically urban environments. We have an early conversation with some people in Dubai, but the first one will be in Miami. And we just actually started talking about New York. So this construct of, how do we actually create digital twins for this urban environments? But really for everything, if you think about it, if the metaverse becomes the new internet, everything that has any presence on the web today is bound to have its equivalent in the metaverse sooner or later. Right. So some folks now, they are more proactive. They're jumping in now. But as you said, Mr. George, it's like, how is the common people, right? The regular folks gonna migrate? How is the students? How are the schools going to get one? How the government is going to. So that's very interesting use cases. From our viewpoint, we're just here to make it simple, basically, right? Where literally in 3 clicks, you can be in the metaverse. I'm not sure, Rajan, if it would be appropriate to show something on the screen. Is that something?
No, time is up, because we have the
time is up. Okay, cool.
panels. Yeah,
sure.
So
I'll drop the link on the
next month we do it again.
Sounds.
So we come to the conclusion. George, you can give the conclusion how the investment opportunities in 2022.
Well, I think the investment opportunities are extremely high, but they will come with a very high degree of risk, but also a very high degree of return. So I like what Jay mentioned, because we're doing several smart city projects. We're actually doing 4 of them. We actually call this conscientious city. So it's a little bit layer above smart city, which combines both AI, blockchain, robotics, and a few other elements, but definitely digital twin is a key element of making this a success. We just saw actually an announcement of a new thing opening in Dubai tomorrow. Actually, I invite you to maybe go. It's called Metaverse. So even the terrace is getting into the business of metaverse. So we're going to have the first real and metaverse terrace where you can go enjoy a coffee, maybe smoke some shisha and all that just next to Burj Khalifa. And it's opening tomorrow. So I invite you to look at it. So you can say that Dubai is on the edge of experimenting with new approaches. This is not the first time it has been done. There used to be a restaurant that is now closed, but that used to call the little plates, where you used to be able to eat your meal, and at the same time you get kind of a 3D world that immerses you into the meal experience. So there were 2 of them that got started in Dubai, but I think they were a bit too early starters, So you have to have a business model that is actually able to sustain you for the long run, because the journey is going to be long. That's all. Enjoy the ride.
Thank you, George. Stephen, anything you want to share? Because we want to go for the next session.
No, just thanks for having me on, Jean.
Yeah, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Am I back?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, thanks for having me, Jean. I really appreciate it. Good to see you again, George. I put my link tree in there. It's got a link to the website, the green paper. But I'm very interested to talk with you, Jay, too, about including these protocols, regenerative protocols into all games is the goal, not just have one game that does these things. So I love to talk about being partners there. And thanks for having me on. And let's make the metaverse green.
Thank you. I think the time is up. So we end the session. Jay, I think we go for the next. We connect you again. Don't worry. Your avatar is very interesting to see.
Thank you, guys. Good to be here.
Thank you, George. Thank you, Jay. Stefan, Vlad. Thank you.
Thank you,
Vlad.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you. Have a nice meeting. Yeah.
Enjoy the remaining of this virtual session. Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
You.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Anyone wants to join in the next session, they are welcome. We have a panel.